Welcome everybody. We're just going to do a little, every half hour we're going to do this, just so folks know what the Bloom Collective is and all that sort of stuff. So thanks for coming out for the grand opening of the new space. It is. Yeah, you're on too. Oh, okay. So, before I talk a little about the Bloom, I just want to say that for every half hour, one thing we're going to do to kind of feature the material we have in here is we're inviting people to grab something off the shelf, either something you're familiar with or something that maybe you're curious about, and to read something. Just read a little bit that we're going to film, because we're going to use those as promotional pieces for the Bloom so people know the kind of material we have here, just as using social media. So, if you have been a part of the fundraising efforts to get us into the space, we applaud you 1,000 times. Thank you very much for your contributions, for getting us here. We were able to kind of meet our goals of what we needed to raise to sort of be able to cover our expenses for over a year, so we don't have to worry about money for over a year for everything, which is going to be lovely, so we can just focus on programming and building partnerships with people in the community. If you are not a member and you'd like to sign up tonight, we would love that. We'd welcome that. You can talk to any of the core members, and I'm just going to ask the core members quickly to raise their hands so people can identify them. There are some FAQs about the Bloom Collective that are on the big dry erase board there that Brad is kind of in the foreground of, with the points of unity and other kinds of things if you're interested. There's also some stuff that we have for sale. It's another way to kind of promote the ideas, but also to generate a little income. So there's t-shirts, there's buttons, there's stickers. There's a few old slingshots from 2013 ones, even though we're the third month in, but they'd be highly discounted if you get one. There's some used books, and there's some other materials. Again, just talk to core members if you're interested in any of that stuff.
Also volunteers.
And if you're interested in being a volunteer, we have a volunteer form on the table. There's also some flyers for upcoming events, and there's also flyers that are on the sort of the calendar that's on the wall there as well, if people are interested in stuff that we got going on. And the things that we have this month, besides the grand opening, we are co-sponsoring the second annual Lady Fest, which is a 2-day event on March 22nd and 23rd. Half of that's going to take place at Pyramid Scheme. And
you said for a year.
Yeah. And half of it's going to take
donate now to turn the lights back on.
Damn it! Well, the computer's still on, so I know it's something.
Pass the hat.
There's a
switch. And then half of it's going to take place here because
there's a switch by the back.
Bloom has been doing a women's radical health workshop for 5 years running, so that'll be happening on the 23rd in this space. And then on the 26th, we're showing a just released documentary that was actually nominated for an Oscar. It's called The Invisible War. It's about sort of one of the most undiscussed topics in the country, in that about the high level of rape of women in the U.S. military by other military members, U.S. military members, called The Invisible War. So that's going to be on Tuesday the 26th at 7 o'clock. And then every month we try to do at least 2 events, whether it's here or someplace else in the community. So we also welcome ideas for workshops, skill shares, forums, discussion topics, et cetera, et cetera. And then lastly, if people also have ideas for materials that we don't have that they would like to recommend to us, we would love input on that too. We try to carry pretty much just radical social change material, so just as an FYI, but it's all up for negotiation about how one defines what that is. So I'm going to just start with the reading, and then I think Deirdre's going to follow, and then we'll wait for the next half hour so it gives people time to find something if they don't already have it. And this I'm reading actually from 2 texts because the first text it got cut off, so just bear with me as I switch books midway here. But this is from Howard Zinn's A People's History of the United States, which, if you haven't read it, should be on the reading list. This is a statement from Frederick Douglass, 1857. He says, and this is just an FYI about reading, just try to read the feeling. Let me give you a word of the philosophy of reforms. The whole history of the progress of human liberty shows that all concessions yet made to our august claims have been born of struggle. If there is no struggle, there is no progress. Those who profess to favor freedom and yet deprecate agitation are men and women who want crops without plowing up the ground. They want rain without thunder and lightning. They want the oceans without the awful roar of its many waters. The struggle may be a moral one, or it may be a physical one, or maybe both moral and physical, but it must be a struggle. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never has, and it never will. Find out just what any people will quietly submit to, and you have found out the exact measure of injustice and wrong which will be imposed upon them. And these will continue until they are resisted with either words or blows, or with both.
Woo!
Circuit breaker.
Douglas brings the lights back.
It's basically below the
right.
coffee maker. Where that is.
Oh.
All right, this is from a MLK speech beyond Vietnam. And I'll start here. We must rapidly begin the shift from a thing-oriented society to a person-oriented society. When machines and computers, profit motives, and property rights are considered more important than people, the giant triplets of racism, extreme materialism, and militarism are incapable of being conquered. A true revolution of values will soon cause us to question the fairness and justice of many of our past and present policies. On the one hand, we are called to play the Good Samaritan on life's roadside, but that will only be an initial act. One day we must come to see that the whole Jericho Road must be transformed so that men and women will not be constantly beaten and robbed as they make their journey on life's highway. True compassion is more than flinging a coin to a beggar. It comes to see that an edifice which produces beggars needs restructuring. A true revolution of values will soon look uneasily on the glaring contrast of poverty and wealth. With righteous indignation, it will look across the seas and see individual capitalists of the West investing huge sums of money in Asia, Africa, and South America, only to take the profits out with no concern for the social betterment of the countries and say, this is not just. It will look at our alliance with the landed gentry of South America and say, this is not just. The Western arrogance of feeling that it has everything to teach others and nothing to learn from them is not just. A true revolution of values will lay hand on the world order and say of war, this way of settling differences is not just. This business of burning human beings with napalm, of filling our nation's homes with orphans and widows, of injecting poisonous drugs of hate into the veins of people normally humane, of sending men home from dark and bloody battlefields, physically handicapped and psychologically deranged, cannot be reconciled with wisdom, justice, and love. A nation that continues year after year to spend more money on military defense than on programs of social uplift is approaching spiritual death. America, the richest and most powerful nation in the world, can well lead the way in this revolution of values. There is nothing except a tragic death wish to prevent us from reordering our priorities so that the pursuit of peace will take precedence over the pursuit of war. There is nothing to keep us from molding a recalcitrant status quo with bruised hands until we have fashioned it into a brotherhood.
All right. And we have one more. And Colette says she's ready to read more.
All right. I'm going to try to read it without my glasses, so here we go. This is from Normal Life by Dean Spade. Dean Spade is a Harvard attorney who started Sylvia Rivera Law Project, which is a law organization that focuses on the rights of transgender people. And the subtitle is Administrative Violence, Critical Trans Politics, and the Limits of the Law. The critical analysis built by many resistant social movements illuminates the limitations of a theory of law reform that aims to punish the few bad apples supposedly responsible for racism, sexism, ableism, xenophobia, or transphobia. It also helps us understand why, since U.S. law has been structured from its inception to create a racialized, genderized distribution of life chances that perpetuates violence, genocide, land theft, and exploitation, we will not resolve those issues solely by appealing to law. We must also be cautious not to believe what the law says about itself, since time and again the law has changed, been declared newly neutral or fair or protective, and then once more failed to transform the conditions of disparity and violence that people were resisting. Given the insights gleaned from social movements that have wrangled with violent legal regimes and with law reform strategies, this book aims to think through how a critical trans politics might conceptualize the role of law reform in our resistance struggles. If we refuse to believe what the law says about itself, if we understand that power does not operate through the domination of a central figure or institution over the masses, but is instead diverse, multifaceted, and decentralized, and if we realize that the transformation needed to address the kinds of conditions I described in the preface will not and cannot come through law, how do we engage with legal reform? Ooh, this makes it challenging. I don't think I can do it with this. Let's see. Let me see. Maybe I can sit a little bit more by the light. Okay. I argue that because law operates as tactics in the distribution of life chances that concern us, we must approach law reform tactically. Meaningful transformation will not occur through pronouncements of equality from various government institutions. Transformative change can only arise through mass mobilization led by populations most directly impacted by the harmful systems that distribute vulnerability and security. Law reform tactics can have a role in mobilization-focused strategies, but law reform must never constitute the sole demand of trans politics. If we seek transformation that is more than symbolic and that reaches those facing the most violent manifestations of transphobia, we must move beyond the politics of recognition and inclusion.